in the summer we do Beracha. The funny thing is that so many things are like still lingering throughout the winter. Sheilos that people ask. So I think we're getting to the bottom of the barrel actually, but then there is the question about barley soup. What's the bracha on barley soup? So I know there's a story. Last night I'm trying to find the story. I put in all keywords. I couldn't find it. So maybe you'll help me out with the story. And otherwise, whatever. Maybe eventually if I find the source, I'll let you know. The story, I think, with the Rebbe Rashab, that he was eating lunch, and there was a bowl of soup, barley soup. And he was, all of a sudden in his machshavas, he wasn't in his food anymore. He was somewhere else. But he was still holding the spoon in his hand, and he was sort of like, he was holding the spoon in the soup, and it was like moving it around, but his mind was elsewhere. So the shamish that was in the house, Kiyadua the Rabbi tried to get people that were not super smart, that won't, to just be there and not necessarily understand what's going on. Anyway, this guy thought that the Rebbe Rashab is looking for the barley. Now, like today we have pearl barley, so that's not from today. This is already going on for a long year. This pearl barley, this product called pearl barley, which I'll talk about in a second, how they pearl the barley. But it's called pearl barley. If you go buy, like for cholent or for barley soup, the package says pearl barley, right? So in Yiddish it's called perlgroipen, which is exactly the same. It's just translation, pearl barley. So he sees that the Rebbe Rashab is going like this. He says, Rebbe, lower down your spoon. He thought he wants the soup is too watery, and he wants to have some barley. So he said, if you go down, you'll find the pearls. And the Rebbe Rashab looked up and he smiled. He said, yeah, I'm a lossachanidr gefindt men the pedal. When you go down lower, when you think when you go lower, no, don't worry. When you go down lower in this world, and Ayid thinks that if you'll sit in the base medrash a whole week, gewaldig. No. You have a business and you have avodas Hashem to do. Sheishes yomim tatzam azecha. Malasa charop nidriker. When you that's where you find the pearls. Oh, that's a separate. Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, this is okay. We'll have to find this and we'll share it next week. So anyway, my shaila is, as I said, this is one of the two last shailas that still hangover from last summer. That people asked, what's the beracha on mushroom barley soup, vegetable barley soup, also cholent. I don't want to so much go into cholent, but the same principles will apply anyway. Okay, let's learn the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe says, and say the Bechzanenim, you don't make beinim in mazonis and anala michya on the 5 grains unless it's processed in the derech achila. What does it mean, process the derech achila? What does it mean, derech achila? Could go on, for example, tavshel anasa mikemach oy dogan atzmai. If you take flour or grain, shenechlek l'shnayim l'shloisha v'yosen, and you chopped up the grain to 3 or 2 or 3 parts, menizbashel mamayim, you cooked it in water, oy b'shar mashkem, any other liquid, doesn't matter if it's water or other liquid. V'zo nikra daisa b'chol makam, this is what's called daisa. In Yiddish it's called kasha. Oh, if even if you didn't split it in half, you just took off the peel off the grain. For example, the barley, you took off the peel. And this is the way people eat it when they cook it. This stew or soup of barley. The second opinion says no. Until they get squeezed and v'yadopku, and they get glued. Hagarinim zelozer, the grains, one to the second. Meroiv bishel, from so much cooking. But if it's complete, shaloihu sekli pasay v'loy nismach, it's 100% complete. The peel hasn't been gone off. It's never been softened. Einam avarach al b'yid pri adam al achar av b'yid nefashis. You make a b'yid pri adam and a b'yid nefashis. And you don't say Ein Gimel. When the Torah said that there's a Eretz Chitos Oida, it didn't mean this type of Achila. And the Shulchan Aruch also says, which Alter Rebbe doesn't bring in the Seder B'Chazanenim, because it wasn't so common in his days, that Chitin Kluyim, in the days of the Shas, candy, the common candy was Kloyes ve'egoizim, the roasted nuts and roasted grains. So that was like the popcorn of those days. You roasted barley, wheat, and then you put a little salt in it, and that was the popcorn.
You're supposed to give the kids on Yom Tov, it says.
Yeah, you're supposed to give Yom Tov, Kloyes ve'egoizim.
There's two things that get confused. Barley is never chopped up. It's always cooked whole. But oats, like in farina, sometimes it's cooked with water and it's like a lush. And sometimes it's made like into a granola bar, where they say you make adama on.
Right. The reason they say
adama, no one ever chops up barley. Unless they make it into barley flour.
No.
And that's the miyut. People that make barley, it's a miyut if they crush up barley, but barley is used in its own right, like in cholent or in soup.
Right. The thing is that the Mishnah Berurah says that there's such a thing called pearl groipen, which is pearl barley, and he says what happens is pearl barley is that his chidush is that when they take off the peel, a drop of the barley itself gets taken off, and the Mishnah Berurah says that constitutes nechlek l'shnaim l'shloisha chalokim. That's as if the barley was cut l'shnaim l'shloisha chalokim.
Whether it's intentional or not, you're saying?
Yeah. He says because it's not just the peel goes off of pearl barley. There are later today Svarim Brachas books that say, well, the pearl barley today, the technology is so good that when they take off the peel, they don't take off any of the barley. The Mishnah Berurah says
pearl barley, seen barley without its peel.
Right.
With the peel, I mean. There's no barley on the market with the peel on it.
Right. Maybe in a health food store.
That's derech achila.
Maybe in the health food store.
Even there.
I don't know.
Even there.
I don't know. No, I wouldn't be surprised if you could buy whole, non-pearl barley. I want whole barley. Can't find it? No?
I think there's a thing called coarse, but I remember as a kid maybe.
There's something called coarse barley.
Coarse barley.
Oats.
I think that's
coarse barley or coarse oats?
No, I think
barley?
Maybe it wasn't pearl. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if I'm right.
The Mishnah Berurah says, okay, so the Olam could do their homework. We'll wait till next week. Yeah. The Mishnah Berurah says that pearl barley, the process of making pearl barley involves taking off a little bit of the actual barley, and therefore it's considered as if it's nechlek l'shnaim l'shloich chalokim. The reason it's very relevant what this thing, because
telling the Beracha.
Right. Yeah. Let's read a little weiter. The Alter Rebbe says, okay, before we do, I just want to summarize. So we say like this: the 5 grains, if it was roasted, the Beracha is barley pri adama bar nefashos. If it's cooked, it's mezainis nalamicha, but it has to be cooked in a high level. And that's the machloikis, how much has to be cooked. The first opinion says, as long as it's cooked, if you peeled off the peel and you cooked it, it's good enough. Second opinion says, no. It has to be that it's becomes soft and it gets glued together. Yesh mestapkim b'zeh, next paragraph, im levorech halo, acharav b'rein nefashos ein gimel. In general, of all the 5 grains, if you eat them even roasted or raw, Marsov exam limshein lechel mehemenu kishir kim betoich suda. This is the shit of Rabbeinu Tam. He decided that, wait a minute, if you eat grain, maybe you should make, instead of a barley nefashos, you should make ala adama val pri adama. The Rabbeinu Tam himself said that it's a little off the wall, and he never saw any machzer. Those days a siddur was called a machzer. He never saw any machzer, or in the shas there should be such a bracha. So therefore, adama val pri adama. So therefore he said, the Rabbeinu Tam said, you should eat it b'teich suda. The Alter Rebbe says, nochan lochash l'divrem l'chatchila. It's only nochan l'chatchila. Nochan, it's like a lot of words here. Nochan lochash l'divrem l'chatchila. It's l'chatchila. If you could be choishish for this, is fine. But I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to go crazy over it. Okay. Bottom line. What's the halacha? The Alter Rebbe doesn't tell you between the 2 opinions. What's the halacha? He doesn't tell you. So
Can I ask one question before you start? So the shaila by the barley is because it had a klippa and it was stripped of the klippa, it shouldn't be made. It shouldn't be a mezainis. What's the shaila exactly?
If it's they took off the clip and you cooked it,
Right.
so the
Why should it be different than like whole wheat and wheat? Whole wheat, they take out the klippa, they leave the husk in, or whatever they leave in the bran. I don't know exactly what they do, and then if not, it's called white wheat, but it's still zionist. Why should barley
once
be-
you bake it, it's irrelevant. This whole question, once you bake it into bread, it's irrelevant.
No, but
It's
only by
cooking
barley
it.
bread. Does people eat barley bread?
Okay, whatever.
People eat barley bread.
What's it
Yeah,
called barley in Hebrew?
it's soidim.
So what's that called?
Lechem
What
soidim.
kind of wheat is that called?
Lechem soidim.
I'm saying in English, what do they call it?
Oh, I don't think they make barley bread
Barley
because
The barley is mainly planted to be used, not a...
Not as
Yeah.
bread. So I'm
Not
asking,
as
so
bread.
why
That's the
why
Beracha.
should it be?
That's
What's the
what
havamina that it's from the Zion meaning?
Yeah.
What's the havamina that it should be adama?
right.
That's not derech
all
achila.
5 minim. If you eat it raw or roasted,
No,
it's
we're talking in a
adama.
soup. In a soup, barley is usually used in a
Oh,
soup.
in this. But this is the machlokes that there is. That the Rabbi Yochanan said that the 5 grains, the Gemara is called. It's a funny diuk he has in the Gemara, but he says the Gemara calls it chuvitz kedera, and he says it has to be
Cereal.
nismar.
Cereal.
He says it means it's nismar when it's dabek. That the garinim were soft and got glued together. Merov abishul. That's what Rabbi Yochanan says. Otherwise, you never went up the level to become a mazonis. You still remain adama. So
Even in that, even if most people don't make it double together, they make it as to be individual.
yeah, he doesn't care. He says because the svara is
Main sheva knows it's like pas. It should be done with pas.
yeah, it has to be like more like a high. Everyone eats kloyas, everyone eats roasted grains, and still it's adoma.
Because that's like a snack. Maybe you could look at it like bread and pas and mezaitis and a moitzi.
Right.
Over there, it's like a snack. So when you eat a granola bar, it's a snack. You're not eating a meal. Mashenkin, if you would clean a vash with all the oats, then you have oat bread. And then the barley doesn't even start because it's always a chush of a meal, a barley.
Could be the svara could be a good svara, but lapoil. In other words, you're saying maybe in the days of the Shas, they only ate kasha if it was glued together. They didn't have barley soup.
Right.
But it sounds from the
even though
Rishonim,
we've never
right?
seen such a zach.
Right, but it sounds from the Rishonim that they were kaveh the Beracha, and that's it. Just because today the style of eating is different, it doesn't change. The svara is a good svara, but no one, in other words, it seems very clear from all the poskim, no one brings up such a svara and say, listen, in the days of Rabbi Yochanan, the days of Rabbi Rabashi, they didn't have barley soup. If you wanted to cook barley, you cooked it until they got glued together.
Well, they didn't eat it any other way. You know? It's like today I'm
Right.
saying that this is for, it's not just the
They
barley
have the
soup.
svara with juice
Even
or-
barley's in a cholent, or however barley is eaten today, it's eaten in an oifen of not separate. No one puts
Right.
barley together.
Right.
There's
Okay.
no congealment of barley. Barley is a chashuv addition to any dish.
The svara is a good svara, but the poil, no poisik.
Really? No.
No poisik says it. It's a
Why do they say the same thing though by the
Passover.
granola?
Oh no, but granola.
Kloyes, right?
Kloy,
They
they're
say
saying
by
it's
granola
kolui.
bars, everyone says it's adama.
No, right, because they're saying that it's roasted in the oven, and then what they do is they put honey and sugar and stuff, and they glue it together.
Right. So
So it was
therefore
never cooked. It was just kolui. It was just roasted in the oven.
Why is it roasted cooking?
Because that's what Shulchan Aruch paskins. The Shulchan Aruch paskins is
It's
Simaresh
baked, roasted. It's baked.
and Sif Dalet and Simaresh Ches that has to be cooked. If it's roasted, it's Beire Pri Adama and Beire Nefashis Rabbis.
But roasted is against is sleeve. Here we're not roasting it; we're baking it in an oven.
Doesn't matter.
That's also
kolui.
roasting?
Kolui, yeah, kolui means kolui beish. Kolui beish means in an oven. That's
However
what
it's
kolui-
made.
Yeah,
By fire.
yeah.
They use this for agave juice, fruit juice.
Look at the other things that
Bahag,
is water.
Bahag cheetahs are on juice.
But
you
no
make
Poisek
because
says
you
it-
plant the fruit to have
But
the
no
juice.
Poisek says it over here. No
You know,
Poisek
like
says
it.
it over here.
Sure.
And fakert, if they would say it would, you would wait for someone to say it. But Lepoil, no one says it.
Because I just know the side thing. I've asked many times about that. If you have a cholent that has barley, you make mezainis.
Yeah.
Pashut. Everyone
Right.
says that's pashut. And also barley soup, you make a mezainis.
Yeah.
I agree, it's Mazonis.
What is
I
anyone-
agree, it's
That's the
Mazonis. Bottom line is, I agree, it's
I'm sorry, I'm
Mazonis.
not trying to jump the shears.
That's my answer, it's Mazonis. Now explain why.
I'm sorry, Rabbi.
No,
I didn't mean to
doesn't
jump
jump.
jump
Doesn't
in.
jump.
No, I'm
Doesn't
just saying
jump.
that l'chayra, it's
A lot of people told me that they make Adama, so if you're making Mazonis, I think you're doing
No,
good.
not on my own. I asked. I've asked over the
Tell
years.
it, when did you make multiple brachas? So you have the meat,
Which is a chashuv.
Let's leave cholent for after the barley soup.
Oh.
So because we started off with the barley soup. The Seder, yes. So
How about the lima? Lima bean, it's very big. It has to cook long time. Not like the barley. So what do you do for that? If you eat it by himself.
Oh, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's do the barley soup. So the barley soup is, bottom line is, Abodim min Mazanis Nalamichel. Why? Because Avram Chaim Noah was a very big poisek, and there's a lot of svaras that could be said, but I like his svara, and he's a very reliable poisek anyway. And the Chazon Ish called him Maiba Plukta, so it's good for him, it's good for me. He says like this, because the Alter Rebbe brings the first opinion Bestam, and the second opinion he says Yeshomrim, it means the Alter Rebbe really felt that the first opinion was right. As long as you cook the grains, it turns into Boida Min Amazonis.
Even clays?
No, you have to cook it. Cook it with water. But they don't have to get glued together like Rabbi Yochanan, which is the second opinion. They don't have to get glued together. As long as the barley was cooked, it's good enough. You could add to this. Today we use pearl barley, and according to the Mishnah Berurah, pearl barley is considered nechlek l'shnayim chalokim. And there is a way to read the Alter Rebbe. If you look again at the Alter Rebbe says, stop. Put 7 periods here. And then everyone agrees to that. Then the Yeshemrim is only going, if you're not going to chop it into 2 parts, it's going to be whole barley. So then it has to be nesmacha the garinim melorav bishul. So barley soup is 100% mazoinus, lani is daiti. The question is, what's the beracha acharoina? So I think also it's simple. Even sometimes a barley soup in your bowl, you don't have a kazayas of barley,
or you don't need
or you didn't need the kazayas v'chtei achilas pras. Still, it's alamich, and I'll explain why. I didn't quote this here, so I'll tell it about ped. The Alter Rebbe says in the Shulchan Aruch, in Siman Reish Beis, Sif Yud Beis, he says beer is shahakol. He says why? Because the people take, after they brew the beer, they take the barley and they throw it in the garbage, and it's only the liquid, so it's shahakol. Also, he says that they used to have a medicine that you used to cook for a long time, the barley with the water, and they had it like, and then they used to take the sifted, they used to take the barley, throw it in the garbage, and they used to give this liquid to
malt.
this.
I think it's malt.
Yeah, I don't know if they use it today as a medicine, but that was considered a medicine for a cholent. And they give this liquid for a sick person to drink. It's
like
considered
yeast.
a medicine.
Like yeast, I think. Yeast.
I wonder.
No, yeast is good for you. Brewer's yeast. People take brewer's yeast today in their water. It's the most awful tasting thing in the world.
It's for good for a chayla, and
yeast,
that was
it leaches out in your blood toxins.
That's right.
So that was a shtia l'chayla to make the chayla healthy. So he says that because you threw the barley in the garbage and it's just liquid, then the liquid is shahakol. But otherwise,
it's not nicker. Even if it would be, let's say, stayed in it, but it's not nicker.
Well, but there's many reasons. Tosfos says 3 reasons. Alter Rebbe is now busy with this one reason because he's in the context of what he's talking about. He's not negated to say, because he wants to say. But on the other hand, if you didn't cook it for a chayla, regular barley soup, so the lock, stock, and barrel, the whole thing is boidim min amazonis, and it sounds like from the Alter Rebbe the Beracha Acharona is ala michya. So therefore, madoch, if you had a cup with barley soup that was regular barley soup, not cooked for a chayla, you'd make a boidim min amazonis and ala michya. Now, kol shekain, if you add it in a bowl like the Rebbe Rashab with only a little bit of petal bropim on the bottom, so what's the difference? It's mazonis and ala michya. I think that's a very simple thing. Very, very simple. The reason I'm telling you this is because I see in the Beracha's book, there's a little bit of a confusion here.
You're saying irrespective of how much time lapses between...
Well, obviously you have to drink the liquid, a kazayas of the liquid b'chdei achilas pras, like every food. But you don't have to look at the grains itself. You could add the liquid of the soup into the kazayas. In other words,
you don't have to make
most
two
people,
separate bracha acharonos. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, don't make one bracha, and you don't have to look at the barley. How many barleys did I eat? Did I eat a kazayas of barley? Sometimes in the soup, if you get a soup, a barley soup,
it's a little bit of barley.
There's very little barley in there.
Still you make an alamech,
Yeah, still you make an alamech. Because Madach the Alter Rebbe said that if you would just had no barley inside, if you didn't cook it l'choila, you'd make a mazonos nalamicha. Kolchkin, if you had a couple of barleys inside, you were lucky to get 3-4 pieces of barley in your cup or in your plate. So kolchkin, you should make mazonos nalamicha. I know it's a pella, but it's pretty clear in the Alter Rebbe.
Why is it? Because what's the story?
Because I think what the svara is
like wine. It's like yayin?
It's like the water is nothing. The water becomes bottled to the barley. The water is nothing. It's like
So the barley becomes thick.
It becomes thick. I would say, if you want to get very lomdish, if you have a vegetable barley soup to be mitzad of the vegetables, I don't know. For sure, you make a mazonos nalamicha, but for the kazayis, maybe the vegetables are not part of it.
And some barley, would you make on dama?
No, mazonos nalamicha. Mazonos nalamicha. Even though this sefer I see is a little confused about it, he has in the Rishima of his Berachas, he says one thing, and he quotes from Shalom Zalman in the sefer the other thing. Anyway, I'm just telling you what I think the Alter Rebbe holds, and it seems to me clear, no shaila. Because the Alter Rebbe says that if you didn't cook this barley for a sick person, if you just drank the liquid, you make a mazonos alamicha. So I came to a chasa and they gave me a bowl of soup, and I was lucky and I got 10 pieces of barley in here. It's like beser. So for sure it's mazonos nalamicha.
Would you say the same thing about cholent? If it had barley?
So yeah, I say the same thing. Cholent. If the cholent,
Although the meat may be more thicker by
if
cholent
the
than the
cholent,
other things.
the thing is like this.
More cholent, not too much meat.
Depends on the cholent.
If the cholent is like this. Depends. If the cholent has a nice amount, because could be like someone just said, there could be that the cholent is that the barley is nothing here. The barley is nothing. The meat, the potatoes. Now, if it is a cholent, which is like glued together, that even Rabbeinu Yoina would say, like you don't eat it with a fork. Like you eat it with a fork. It's that the barley like glued everything together and everything is congealed. Even Rabbeinu Yoina here is going to say that it's mazonos. And the rule is, kol sheyesh ba mechameshes min adogam, anything that's from the 5 grains, he becomes king and he takes everything, he takes over. So then, if the barley is king in this cholent and he's gluing everything together, I'd say it's no shayla, it's mazonos nalamicha.
Your machshava is that the meat may be the ikr more
Right,
than what.
right. That's the rule of kol sheyesh ba mechameshes.
It's what's
Unless
in there.
with the 5 grains, the only time you're not going to make a mazonos alamicha is that the grain is not there. It was only there for color. It was only there as a glue. Sometimes like something that they use flour, like as a thing to thicken something. So then, okay. The reason I'm telling you this is, it's a funny thing. I opened up the Beracha's book, and I spoke to Rabbi Newman about this. He said I should call him because he doesn't know what I'm talking about, but. He says here that according to the Alter Rebbe, barley soup is eat during the meal of a moitzi. Okay, that's fine. The best thing is always nochen. Okay, but that's only nochen lechatchila. Then on the bottom he says barley soup. He says if this is not eaten during the meal, say shahakal and boyd nefashos. I don't understand. How can say shahakal and boyd nefashos? Anything that is, if you're going to tell me that the Alter Rebbe didn't pass
There's a few barleys in it. That's what
but it doesn't matter. The Alter Rebbe says that there is a machloikis if it's adom or mazonos. You can say, okay, you don't hold like a Rav Ram Chaim Noah. You hold that the Alter Rebbe didn't paskin. It was a suffix, adoma or mazonos. Okay, adoma mazonos. I don't know what to do. Make shakel, no problem. But how can you make anytime you have to make an alamichya and instead you say the bird in the flushes, you're not yoitza. The Alter Rebbe says whenever you eat something and you have a suffix in the Beracha Acharoina, if it's an ala michya or ala eitz or ala gefen, or a bird in the flushes, you have to go and eat 2 separate things. And a full kazayis of a shahakal and a full kazayis of ala michya or a full kazayis of a fruit, and it has to be from the same. Even it's like if you're going to have a suffix, if it's bird in the flushes ala michya, you can't eat a fruit from the shiva saminim even. You have to eat something which is from that category. You have to eat a kazayis of an alamichya and a full kazayis of a bird in the flushes, and that's the only way out of that suffix.
Maybe he holds that the water can never become mazonos and alamichya. Where does that svara come from? That you
But he didn't talk about the difference if it's a heavy soup or he says any barley soup, any barley soup.
If you cook 5 barleys in this cup,
Okay.
how does the water become?
Okay, so maybe I'm exaggerating. But if he's not machalik, he say if you cook any barley soup. He says any barley soup. He says you should make a shahakal the burn in the fudge. And
I once asked Rabbi Heinemann,
Yeah.
and I asked him, "What do you make on barley? What do you make on soup?" At Derech Klal, he says, "What's what's
What consists?
called? What is it called? It says if it's called vegetable soup, you make adon. If it's called barley soup, you make a I don't even know what that meant.
It's a nice agdon.
But if you only put in 10 pieces of barley, it's not barley soup.
Okay, so
maybe
let's not talk about
maybe if it's maybe even like you're saying that there was originally a kazayas of barley in this cup, not in the whole pot. In other words, in ratio, in proportion to each serving, which is let's say 8 ounces or whatever it is, there was a kazayas in each cup. Then you could say that even if you didn't have it, the water became barley soup.
Okay, but he's not saying the difference. He's just saying that any soup, barley soup, mushroom barley soup, vegetable barley soup, he says that if you're not eating in the meal, you can make a shahakal and a bird and a foshes. He's not machalik. That's a pella. So I'll tell you why he made the mistake. I chapped why he made this mistake. Because the Alter Rebbe says here at the end of the sieve that any one of the 5 grains you should better eat in the meal. Otherwise, you make a dom and a bird and a foshes. Oh, so Alter Rebbe said on the 5 grains to make a bird and a foshes, but that's different. Over there, he's talking about that you ate raw grain. And really, it's Adam and a bird and a foshes. And Rabbeinu Tam was the only one that came up with this funny thought that the Siddur has 3 columns. Ala Michya, Ala Pedis, Ala Geffen. It should be 4 columns. Ala Michya, Ala Pedis, Ala Geffen, Ala Adama, Val Pri Adama. And the Rabbeinu Tam himself says that he thinks it's off the wall, because the Gemara doesn't say it, and he never found it in any Machzer, but it should say. So better eat it in the meal. But the Rabbeinu Tam is the only one that thinks that way, and he himself didn't rely on himself. He himself doesn't rely on himself. So the Alter Rebbe says, Nochan, Lochash, Lechatchil, if you're going to have kloyas, vegoyim, you're going to have roasted grains, that you, instead of making adama, but in the foshes, better eat it in the meal. For that, the Alter Rebbe says to make a bite in the foshes, because really, no one holds like the Rabbeinu Tam, and even Rabbeinu Tam himself was masupik. But in this case of barley soup, where it's a machloikis, if the Beracha is by the minimum mezainis or adama, and really everyone holds it's a mezainis. The Rabbeinu Yochanan is the only troublemaker here, who decided that there has to get glued together, and it really doesn't make sense. Why should I have to get glued together? When we eat the barley soup, that's the what derech to eat barley soup. Mamish doesn't make sense.
He said in Chadez of Chazal, maybe it was different.
So okay, you got to say something. I mean, no, you knew what he was talking about, but all the other Rishonim hold otherwise. So now when you get to the Beracha Acharoina, so if you're going to make a shahakal, forget me. Akul mama shakal mit variyotza, no problem. But you're going to make now a bird and a foshes. What's a bird and a foshes? It's not worth anything. The other opinion says you're supposed to make alamicha, and every time you have to make alamicha, and instead you made a bird and a foshes, you were not yoitza.
Why should barley soup be different than, let's say, grape juice? We know that you can water down grape juice up until a certain point, and then it's no longer grape juice. I don't know what the mixture is. So if you don't add enough of a shear of water to grape juice, you add too much water to grape juice, it's ice grape juice. And the same thing with other brachas. Why is the mezainis different?
No, it's not. It's not different. It's not different. The truth is,
so what happens
if a person
on water infused barley?
If a person, I'm talking in a regular soup that was cooked with a lot of barley, and you ended up in your bowl not to have a full kazayas.
Right.
The truth is, if someone cooked with only a very few amount barleys in the soup, and
then it wouldn't be
I'm saying even if it doesn't, regular barley soup they don't stick together anyway.
It does.
It gets thick, but it doesn't stick together. They don't stick together.
But
I'm saying the halacha is like the first opinion that they don't have to stick together, and it's mezainis nalamicha. Now the question is, what's if the person put in very little barley in the soup? So you might be right that that's different. I was talking about that it was made with a lot of barley, but you got in your bowl not enough to have a kazayas, but the soup was made with a lot of barley.
Mushroom barley soup, ideally, you should make mezainis on the barley?
No, mezainis on the whole thing, mezainis nalamicha.
So you don't make shahakal or adama?
No, mezainis alamicha. Mezainis alamicha.
If you take a mushroom barley soup, you should make a mezainis on
That's
the
what
barley.
Rabbi Avram Chaim Noah says.
That's what Rabbi just take the juice from it.
And the mushroom.
Right. Now, if you made a soup, like you said, with very little barley, not that I'm talking about.
What's the minimum barley that you make shakal?
I don't know. Maybe Rabbi Heinemann is right. If it's, what is it called? Is it called mushroom barley soup, or it's called barley thai?
The Mishnah Berurah says, the Mishnah Berurah addresses this about the barley soup. The Mishnah Berurah.
Sure, the Mishnah Berurah talks about it.
And does he say the same thing as Reb Chaim Noah, or he goes in a different direction?
He doesn't. He also passes the same. Yes, he's not so concerned about. He has a different shit in the whole thing. It's very complicated. His shit is he holds there's never was a machloikas b'chlal.
And by Ashkenaz, the word Noah by the Mishnah Berurah or Chaim Noah?
I don't know. Moshe doesn't like the Mishnah Berurah on this. The Mishnah Berurah holds that there was never machloikas. The Mishnah Berurah holds that Rabbi Yochanan, and no one's arguing here. It was all. Everyone was very. There's many ways of cooking it. Rabbi Yochanan was said if you cooked it till it got glued together, and they said all is good, everything is good as long as it came in a pot.
I was at a shiur by Rabbi on Friday night. They have in the winter time. So they had the shop. They had this. The cholent is cooked with barley in it. You have to make a mezainis no matter what you eat from it. Even if you just take out a piece of meat, or you take out a potato.
That I'm not sure. I wouldn't go that far because if you take something out separately, I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. But
what about
Only
fruit compote? Fruit compote. You have a grape.
fruit compote is part of it.
Apple, pineapple. We're gonna get to that.
Yeah, if you want. We'll get to it.
That's also like bizarre. I'm saying.
No, fruit compote is part of that complicated sugya. Okay, summarize. Answer. Barley soup. Barley soup is boida mina mazonos and ala mirchi.
If this mean I make a, this barley make a design.
Halacha l'maaseh, shalom, you just make a mazonos, even if you have meat, potatoes, and barley? Halacha l'maaseh?
Kishka. It's another shot. Kishka is also a shot.
So this is a breakthrough, or this is a
Revelatory cheer, sure. This is why we come here. Excited. You're not coming here for the breakfast. You're coming for the shama to get.
Of course.
The shama needs the food.
Of course.
This is just to keep you glued to the table.
You understand?
Okay, let's try to get to next Sheilos. Someone called me this week. I wish he was here now. He tried to understand it. Anyway, I'll just go through Bekitza. He's working in a very Jewish business. Became a very popular business, these loans.
Hard loans.
Yes. It became Chadash Yomeinu Kekedem, like in the...
In Al Tehim.
Yeah. Like in the Middle Ages. So, I don't know. It's not... I think the people that are in the business themselves are not that comfortable about this business.
It's monkey business.
Yes, it is. And it's basically, and so this person, so one of the people in this business tells me he only wants to give it to Goyim. He doesn't want to deal with Yidden. I said, why?
You mean to loan?
Yeah, he doesn't want. He says because the Goyim they don't think, but the Yidden think. That's the problem. At one point they're going to decide, take the whole business away. Just forget about it. I'm not paying you. Just take the business. But the Goy doesn't think. Just doesn't think. Keeps on paying. He says that these
That's why
loans.
Bloomberg is in a lot of problems.
Oh yeah.
He can be president.
Because he said he was against giving out special mortgages to Eno Yehudim.
Wow.
And because he's smart, doesn't want America to go bankrupt. Clinton, to get elected, made the process much easier to get a loan. Bloomberg says, "Yeah, you want to keep doing that? That's like Bernie." And they all made him into a schmatter.
Wow.
They didn't make a schmatter.
But the problem is the guy with all his billions of dollars. No, he didn't get good debate lessons.
He upped the taxes
He
in New York.
made it to mamash a schmatter.
Wow.
By schmatters themselves.
Yeah, he upped the taxes in New York more than anybody.
Be the first Jewish president.
He made up the taxes here in New York more than anybody.
Right, and they made it against him. Everything that he had the smartest. That's why he was the mayor for 3 years, because finally the city was working. I'm sorry, this is nothing to do with this.
Okay. So Kesef Talabas Ami. So person asked. He said he downloaded a simple nusach on every loan that you could write that this loan is compliant with all the laws of the way it's written in Shulchan Aruch Siman Kuf Ayin Zayin and according to the way it's written in Nakla Shiva. So problem is like this: if you have no choice, that's the way you do it. But let me explain. Let's learn it inside. So Shulchan Aruch says in Yeredeya, a person gives money to his friend, but teres eska is an eska. Chazal understood it's also to give a loan with interest. Chazal understood that sometimes it's not interest, sometimes it's a business. So how do you do the business? That's still also. Shekol, iska, palga, milga, palga, picardon. Every business is half a milba and half is a picardon. Nimtza, sheterech, bechelak a picardon, bishvel chelak a milba. לפיכך צורך לא ישחט תירכה שבכל יום ויום ימי השוט וסקפוי על הבוטל שלא יצא מלוכה שבוטל ממנו. באמת דברים אמון כשלא יפסקים בתחיל הסייזה כל נוסע על המחצה שכר עלים פסקים בתחיל הסייזה שכר תירכה בדבר ידוע אפילו בדין הרמות. So Chazal said like this, we'll make it simple, they said. Simple. When Chazal say we'll make it simple, they say we'll do it like this. Whenever Iska goes like this, they said, I give you $100 to invest as an investment. Half the money turns into a milva. A milva means it's secure. I don't care. Don't tell me you bought a piece of real estate and then there was a tornado and you didn't make the tornado. It was an act of nature. Don't tell me anything. I want my $50 back. It's a milva. Half of it is a picardon. A picardon means whatever investment you made, that 50% of that belongs to me. Now, if you could bring two Adam to say that you invested this $100 in a piece of property and the property got burnt and you didn't make the fire, it was just an arson came and put the house on fire. So then you're put to pay me that 50%. The other 50% you have to pay me. Half of the money is a loan, half is a picardon. So why did Chazal say that? They said that the half it's an a loan, you could get all that, all the profit that's from that. You could take for yourself. You could take for yourself.
Today the banks won't let it. If the bank lends you money, they pay for the insurance on the house to make sure if the house goes up in smokes that they get paid back.
And half of it they said is a picardon. Half is a picardon. So the half that's a milva, that's a loan, you can't give me interest on. But the half that's a picardon, the half that belongs to me, so it's a picardon. So if the business goes good, then every star we say that when it says interest, it doesn't mean interest. It means the anticipated profit from the half that's a picardon. You're not allowed to charge money on a loan. Ribis on a picardon, you could do what the Torah never said.
Amen.
No, I don't want anything.
They're not thrilled on that.
Yeah, you're going for it.
Any cookies?
So that's the way Chazal set it up. There was at some time in history, someone came up with a brilliant idea. Your money is not protected because if the person brings witnesses that there was a loss, that you didn't cause the loss, so they're parted from the half of the investment. They're parted to pay you back. If there's a loss, they don't have to pay you back for that half. It's an unbelievable loss. You invest with someone a huge amount of money, and half the money might never come back to you because that half is a picardon. So someone came up with a brilliant idea. They wrote in the star that if there is a loss, half of it you're potter, but you have to bring two witnesses that are kosher. But that's not good enough. It has to be the Rav and the Shamash. What's the trick? What are the odds that the Rav and the Shamash are going to be together, and that they're going to be? Where's it happening? Where's this thing happening? In the marketplace, somewhere in the outskirts of the city. They made an investment. That Rav is probably sitting in the base of Medrash and learning. The Rav and Shamash, they're the only people I trust as Adam. So what are the odds that? So the guy's going to say there was a fire. Okay. The Rav and Shamash have to be there to say witness that you didn't make the fire. Then the poskim came along and said, "This is a joke. This is aroma. Are you kidding me? This is not called a picardon. This is called taking interest." No. They said you got to write any two kosher Edom. It can't be a goy. A goy can't say witness. It has to be two Eden kosher Edom. But as long as kosher Edom are going to come,
how could they know if he set it on fire or not?
Exactly. That's very, very hard. It's very, very hard. The odds, but there could be if it's say
When they both walking by, let's say it's at 1 o'clock.
if you invest with someone as an eska and he bought a property and then there was a tornado and the Bezdin himself is,
no, it's an act of Hashem, and it's not. It can't be. He couldn't have done it.
Right. So therefore,
but how could you give edus on that? Like what? Is that,
we don't need edus. Everyone saw it. So we don't even need edus.
Right, but
so half the money he doesn't have to pay back.
But what in a case when
the money's not?
What if it is a case where there is a fire? No one knows. How could they know he didn't do it?
That's why most people are not scared to make a heter eska, because the odds that you're going to lose your money is very low. And even if there is a tornado, who says this guy understands what's written in the heter eska? What are the odds that he understands what's going on over here? So, however,
well, but you're lifting even on a yid because the yid.
Heter eska has to be.
The guy wants to pay you back. You pay it back. He thinks he owes you the money. You pay it back.
It has to be written in Hebrew or in English.
It can be written in any language.
He has to understand it.
It doesn't have to understand it. You have to understand it. You're giving the money. You have to understand it. But according to this deal, you have to give him. The Chazal said you have to give him a little bit of money because he's involved in this business. You're giving him a loan. Half the money is a loan. Half of the money is a pikadon. The part that's a loan, there's no interest in it.
So
and you write in the shtar that anything say where it's a 10%, the loan is 10% interest. But the 10% is only from we anticipate that the half a part that's pikadon is going to make 100% a year profit. And you're giving them $100. I'm a really nice guy. 90% of the profit you're making pikadon you can keep for yourself. Only 10% of the profit of the 50% of the pikadon that you should give me. Oh, so now it's all kosher. But the problem is that the Chazal say I have to give you a little something, and the minig is that they give you $1. So the problem is that a lot of people today are making a heter eska, a chatzi milva, chatzi pikadon, and they don't give the $1. You have to give the person $1. You have to give him $1.
So this is shomer sachar.
That no, it's not good shomer sachar. Chazal said
he's getting some
no,
money.
shomer sachar. Chazal said that when you give someone an iska, chatzi mil, chatzi pikadon, you have to give him a little something, and that's the way it is, not for a kinyan. And it has to be so. Therefore, the guy must give $1. There's another eight, and we'll talk about it maybe next week. One more. You know what? Should we do one more shaila?
Yeah.
Okay, one more shaila. Someone called me this
Give a
week.
whole summary from the middle one, please.
Summary? Yeah, no problem. Summary. The shaila was, this guy is doing hard loans. Could he just type out a heter eska and staple it to the thing and say it's in the office and this is pursuant to the heter eska? The answer is yes, you could do that. But every time you give out a loan to a Jew, you have to give him $1. If you're doing the standard heter eska, you have to also give him $1. And if you're not payment for a payment, this payment is because he's being toireach. Chazal said, why is he taking this money for you and half the money investing? Because you gave him half as a loan. So it's a little bit, it smells of interest. So when you're giving him a little bit of money, so he's doing it. Because every iska means I'm giving him $100, and 50% is a pikadon and 50% is a milva. But he's doing it for me why is he doing me a favor to invest my money? Because I gave him also a loan, so it doesn't smell good. So therefore, Chazal said, give him an extra $1. That's why.
That's going to make it smell better.
Yeah, that's what makes it good. That's what Chazal said. Now it's good. Now that Chazal said, this is going to be good. So, but you have to give him the $1. At least that $1 you got to give him. You can't say that this is pursuant to the heter iska and staple it, or it's in the office.
What if you don't give him $1?
You're going over Chazal.
So you have to give him $1 later. You could say, I'm sorry, I forgot, I didn't give you the $1.
I made an iska once in my life with a consortium of people. Okay, so I have to go. It's shutfim. I have to give 33 cents to the 3 shutfim.
Well, they have to look at the iska. There is an iska that's kulei pikadon, you don't have to give $1 even. If the iska is kulei pikadon, then you don't have to give even $1. That's a new invention.
I don't think.
But half is a loan, half is
I mean, sinners has the iska that way.
It's kulei pikadon probably. Most rabbanim today, they know that the people are not going to give $1. So they make a thing that's kulei pikadon. I went into a bank, a Jewish bank, and the manager is Jewish, and he has on the wall a heter iska from very choshev. And it was I read the iska, it's kulei pikadon. So I said to the manager, you know what this means? It means that if if I took a loan from this bank and I bought a house and then there was a fire and I could bring 2 witnesses that I didn't make the fire, I would not have to pay you a nickel a dime back for the mortgage.
But they have insurance.
So
You can't-
he couldn't believe it.
You
He
can't
said
believe
it
it.
can't be.
Right.
You're going to have to pay every nickel dime. I said,
No, but it's
I
in their,
said
but
it's
it's in their
here
contract. There's no contract. There's no bank
there's a
contract.
that they have
that
insurance.
you cannot have.
But he
you
didn't
don't
know
have,
that.
You don't
This
have,
guy didn't
no, he
realize.
doesn't
He's
know.
so
Because he's not the underwriter. He doesn't care. He just wants to get you in to sign that contract. He gets a share of the loan.
I
that the
wasn't
bank-
making any business with the bank anyway. I was just
No, I'm saying, but
machlitzonis.
these guys, these bankers in the bank,
Yeah.
they don't know what's flying. They just get a commission to get you to sign it with someone else.
But this guy couldn't believe it.
But any loan,
This was
by
an Apple bank.
definition, has to the
They have to have
borrower
insurance.
has to
Apple is owned by
and
Jews.
usually the bank wants to be the one that's insuring it. So they
Right.
even if the person can't pay the insurance,
The
they're
insurance will
covered.
pay them.
Apple Bank is owned by Jews?
Apple Bank is by Jews. They have
So
a very good
I think
heter.
Investors Bank is also owned by Jews.
They might not be a good bank, but they have a good heter eska.
No, they're not. You really should check out that. A lot of these banks put up all kinds of interest rates, and they could go belly up tomorrow.
Right.
A lot of them are very shaky. Go down 13th Avenue, one shop. They're all in competition. Who has the better rate? And you look at their books, and they're like they have the lowest, almost junk bond rating.
Wow.
Don't put any money in these banks unless they have a good rating.
I don't borrow from a bank.
All right.
But I use the
Kids have bar mitzvah money, this and there. By the time it matures, they'll be out of business.
Bottom line is, if you make a heter eska, you have to ask it out first. So like I said, this person was doing a heter eska and he was writing it, but he was doing it a chatzi mil v'chatzi pikodin. He was not giving $1 to people. So if you want to do kula pikodin, fine, but you have to make sure you know what you're doing. Last Shiloh was someone called me this week. He has a dishwasher. Huh?
Can you have kola milva?
Then you can't take interest.
But the heter eska wouldn't.
Can't take interest. Can't take a nickel of interest. The whole idea that you could take interest is that you can't take interest from a milva. The mile of a milva, it's secure. It's secure. You're going to get your money back, but you can't take a nickel of interest on it. On the pikodin, you could take as much as you want. You could take as much interest as you want on a pikodin.
So you can make
but you're
up
not
one-
secure with it.
So you can
but
make
you're
on
not.
one what you lose on the other. If you as long as you are successful, if there's no interest on the loan and a lot of interest on the investment,
yes.
and you do well, then
You're good.
you come out ahead.
Right, exactly. Someone called up this week and asked if he could use a dishwasher for milchik and fleishik. Okay. So let's try to do it quickly.
Ramon doesn't do it, but I know that.
The Ramah definitely deals with it.
The dishwasher?
Yeah.
Yep.
Also a lusher?
They have
Machloikas Ramah Bes Yosef. You're right. Yep. Classical machloikas straight here in Shulchan Aruch. Posak.
Ramon had a dishwasher? Or she would wash
This
it?
is this is a dishwasher. It's the best dishwasher of all time.
Yeah.
Mrs. Ramah did not wash dishes, I must tell you. Mrs. Ramah
maid?
had at least a dozen maids in the house, probably, because Rabbi
She
Ramah.
had a Yad Ramah.
Exactly. She had more than one. She had Yadayim Ramah. Because Rabbi Ramah's father was the richest man in Krakow, who, if you go to Krakow today, the ritziest neighborhood in Krakow was built by the Ramah's father. And he supported his son to learn Torah Yom V'Layla.
Then I gave it back to us, right?
Huh?
Then I gave you
No.
That's a good part.
But yes, he was a big Baal Tzedakah and a big Baal Chesed, and he invested his money very wisely.
It was worth it. It came out okay.
So don't worry, Mrs. Ramah had plenty of dishwashers in her house. So the Shulchan Aruch says, Yeridei Siman Tzaddik Kesef Gimel, Kodesh Shel Basar Shutcha B'Yerich HaLevis, that the dishes that were from meat that were washed in a big pot that's choleves milchik, fleishik dishes that were washed in milchik dishes. B'chamet shiyat tzeladas b'afilish ne'meyem muter mishum da'av l'noisen tam bar noisen tam l'teira. It's muter. Why? Because the taste didn't go directly from one to the other. It's not barnat. The Gemara says that dogim sholu b'kaira muter lo'achlam b'kutach. That fish that were sitting in a fleishike pot, a fleishike plate, and the tam of the meat went into the fish. You're allowed to take that fish and dip it into kutach, which is like sour cream, sour cream, and you could eat it. So the same thing over here. that you have a milchike pot and water, and so the water took in the taste of the meat, so the taste gets weakened. The taste gets weakened, and now it's bringing the taste into the meat. By the time it gets in there, it's mutter. Why? It's a very important principle to understand. Chalav is good and basar is good. Chalav is good and basar is good. But when you mix them together,
It's no good.
they're no good. Mix them together is no good. A yid is good, guy is good. Marriage, no good. Terrible. Right? So, but otherwise, Siddur Asylum, they're good. It's good. So same thing over here. It has to for the when something is already asur, it stays asur, even a small taste. It always stay asur. But in order for it to be, you want to make it asur, but it's a weak taste. So the Gemara says the taste went from the meat into the walls of the pot, and from there into the fish. Everything is still heter. Now you're gonna dip the fish into the sour cream. You're going to call this mixing milk and meat? I'm sorry, that's not called. That's what the Gemara called not bar not. And the Beis Yosef holds that the same thing will apply over here. Person has to say, I know that there was no milk or meat here, no schmaltz. If there's schmaltz, for example, here on the plate, so there has to be, the water has to have 60 to be mavatal that schmaltz, because it's milchik, sort of milchik water. Okay, this is what the Beis Yosef holds.
There's no shayla though with the fish and the meat.
Right.
Fish also shouldn't be eaten with meat, but that goes without saying.
All the boys can right away jump on that. All the boys can jump on that.
Doesn't it say dagam shalu bakar is asa mishum sakanta, right?
Because sakana, but not mitzat sakana. Right, not the sakana part. So if you not concerned about the sakana, that's
Then you're putting in the cook.
Yeah.
Maybe it's okay.
No. Even if you're concerned about the sakana part, it wouldn't be a problem. Why would it be a problem?
no, because the Pashas, the Gemara was not talking about the sakana part. It was talking about the theoretical
but I'm
thing.
saying even you can say that there'll be a heter for that too, because it's not mamish. It's not mamish.
So some say that, some say fakert. No, chamira sakanta misura. Hagoah. So the Ramon
If you
says.
want to, by the way, I'm sorry, but even if it got mixed with the shuman and the choliv, there was
Fish?
not shuman. I'm saying let's say there was no shuman whatsoever, but there was hot. So you had. Is it better to be machmir? We have so many things that are so much more makel that we say tava olav bracha versus machmir. Why isn't there? Is there an Indian here also need to be machmir?
Probably yes, because there might be, you're not allowed to be mavatal isel lechatchila, and if there's little pieces of shuman, usually
No, I'm saying there's no shuman whatsoever.
it's mashma from the Mechaber not. But we're Ashkenazim, we have to be machmer. Look at the Agor. So for the Sfardim, no. If the clean plates are clean, it's not a problem. However, there are those that say it's also even if there's no shuman. One of the kelim have to be not a ben yoima. So then the taste in the walls are foul. It's tam levgam. Both kol kelim mutorim v'mayim noigim b'misel lechatchila. Avalim shneim b'nei yoiman. If the dishes are both b'nei yoiman, v'diach oisan b'yachad b'klid ishain, and it was together in one kleli, hakal asur, v'achi noigim, v'ein l'shanas. Why? Because Tosfos holds that way, and Tosfos gives two reasons. He says, who told you that the tam got so weakened? He says, first of all, maybe the milchik and the fleshka plates touched each other, and the tam got directly in. And number two, in the water itself, the tam of the basar and the tam of the cholent go out, and the tam itself mixes over here, and that's called tam rishon.
Where does it mix?
Say if you put fleshka and milchik dishes together in a hot bowl, in a sink, fleshka and milchik dishes together. And you put hot water.
Here, though? Is that what
Yeah, that's what's hanging here. You put in a sink fleshka milk dishes, and you put hot water. So first time of Tosfos is maybe the heat is making that the dishes open up a drop and taste a little goes out, and the milk and fleshka dish touch each other, and it goes directly. And so it'd be just like taking a fleshka pot and cooking in it milk. It's the same thing. So
you don't have a shear. Not the same thing.
No, because we don't know how much is going out of the walls of the pot. We say we don't know exactly. Could be there's a lot going out.
Okay, but there's a lot of plates in this pot.
Okay, so if you have to know, if you know for sure there's shishim in the water against, we could handle it later.
So
But
we're assuming it is less than shishim.
right, or anyway. But the second reason is also because that the water is taking in the taste of basically you're having here. You have your milk fleishke dishes in the sink. So the Tosa says it's like cooking water. It's tamnishin because the taste that's going out of the fleishke and the milk and basal chol is in the water. Is right away. It's not that.
You also have the steam.
Makes it even hotter. He's saying it makes it even hotter.
Steam is very hot. It's very hot.
However, the water is not. Let us know.
Yes, salad. Yes, salad. Yes, salad. We're talking about it.
The same thing.
Yeah, it's a double salad. It's a double salad. Yeah, it's the same thing. So, gesagt der Moshe Feinstein, the Moshe. That's why he thinks that it's not terrible to use a milchike dishwasher for fleishik or the other way around, but you must have separate racks. Why? So he said why. He said why. He said because when did the Shulchan Aruch say it's also if you're using the same water? If you're using the same water. But if you're not using the same water, the Ramah said, and based on Tosfos, that it's a problem, that the tam does not get diluted, it doesn't get weakened because it's the same sink if you have hot water and the milk and the fleishke dishes are there at the same time. So if you took a dishwasher and you put one rack milk and one fleishke and you put it on the button, that would be the problem that the Shulchan Aruch is talking about. The same sink you have, same time. But if you do it befrat, that you put different water, so he says this is this. Now the racks, however, he said must be separate. Why does it have to be separate racks? He said because there's pieces, mamoshes. He says if you're talking the bottom, a little drop of pieces that fall to the bottom of the dishwasher, there's for sure the shishim on the water to be mevatel that little piece. How much milk is going to fall off? How much meat is going to fall off? So the Moshe said for sure the water is going to be shishim keneged. But the racks, there's no such thing shishim, not shishim. If you have a piece of cheese on the rack, how are you going to know every time? He says you can't say every balabost is always going to check, do bedikas chometz on the racks. A little piece of meat, you don't see it in your eyes. A tiny piece of meat or a tiny piece of cheese is on it, and the piece of cheese is pressed on the fleishke pot or the fleishke plate, and there's hot water, and now it's treif. So because
couldn't the water be mevatel both?
No, he's saying the water is already soapy, so it makes it it's
so the Moshe didn't want to be makel so much. He didn't want to be makel so much. The truth is that this school is pretty big to begin with, because especially now when you have dishwashers that the water they try to be more efficient with the water.
180 degrees.
No, but the sprays are much stronger.
But there's
they get such a spritz out of these.
That's so good, but not a lot of water.
Oh, so that's why it's not like the pot.
So, but who says for sure you have shishim if you have after Shabbos?
Exactly, you don't. There's never shishim saw in a. What's the liquefied amount of what you have to be in? What was in the original pot, the original shayla?
No.
How much water was in there?
No, but the time I'm talking about the mamoshus. If the Moshe says for sure there is 60 in the water keneged the few pieces of meat that fell to the bottom of the dishwasher, but I don't know. If you bottom line is that Moshe says you're allowed to. You just have to have different separate racks for milk and fleishik and 100% mutter. You don't have to change anything.
Well, the Yidden are mahader. Most Yidden are mahader.
Most people are mahader to have two separate.
What about for Pesach?
This is not talking about Pesach. I'm not talking about Pesach. Pesach is much more.
Talk about Pesach in the same
No, he doesn't. Pesach is much more common. But the bottom line is that Moshe says that you could have, if you have separate racks, if you want to be even more mahader, you leave 24 hours in between. So then
you got two dishwashers.
Nice and tam of gam, then it's good.
You're ahead of the game.